We are going to look at the problems on slide 7 of the chapter 1, section 5 slides. We're going to start with this. Find the least squares line for the data for these data points. So we've got the point 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 3, and 5, 6. All right, so to find the least squares line, we start with these two equations. NB plus M times the sum of the xi's is equal to the sum of the yi's. Okay, well, let's figure out the sums of the xi's and yi's for the moment. Sum of xi, because we're going to need those again. At least we're going to need these. We're going to need some of it again. Sum of xi, that's just going to be the first x, which is 1, plus the second x is 2, plus the third x is 3, plus the fourth x is 4, plus the fifth x is 5. And 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 15. N, that's just the number of points we've got, which is 5. And the sum of the yi's, that's going to be 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 6. Okay, well, 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 4 is 8. And we've got another 9 there. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. Okay, so this means that we've got this equation here. 5b plus 15m equals 17. No problem. Okay, the second equation that we're going to use is b times the sum of the xi's plus m times the sum of the xi's squared equals the sum of the xi's times the yi's. So that just means that we're going to take each of these and multiply them out. And that's going to be xi, yi. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got here. We already know the sum of the xi's. We want to know the sum of the xi's squared. So the sum of xi squared is going to be 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 3 squared plus 4 squared plus 5 squared. Okay, that's 1 plus 4. And I'm going to do this on the next line. 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus 16 plus 25, which is 5, plus 9 is 14, plus 16 is 30, plus 25 is 55. That looked a little bit better. There we go. Okay, and then the sum of the xi, yi's. Okay, that's just going to be the product, product of each of these pairs. So 1 times 1 plus 2 times 3 plus 3 times 4 plus 4 times 3 plus 5 times 6, which gives us 1 plus 6 plus 12 plus 12 plus 30. 7 plus 12 is 19, plus 12 is 31, plus 30 is 61. So this gives us the equation 15b plus 55m equals 61. Okay, and we can use those two equations. We'll use them on the next page. Use those to find the least squares line. Equals 15. 17. 60. There we go. Okay, well, one thing I can do to make this simpler on us is to multiply this equation by -3. That gives us negative 15b minus 3 times minus 45m equals 17 times 3 is negative 51. Yes. So I'll just put that here. And then I'm going to add these two equations together. 15b minus 15b is 0. 55m minus 45m, that's, sorry, 55m minus 45m is 10m. And 61 minus 51 is 10. So that means that m equals 1. I just divide both sides of that equation by 10, and I get m equals 1. Okay, now that I know that, I can plug this into any of these equations I've got. I'm going to use the first one. 5b plus 15 times 1 equals 17. So 5b equals 17 minus 15, which is 2. Which means if I divide both sides by 5, I get b equals 0.4, or 2/5. And I can double check that with the second equation. 15 times 2/5 plus 55 times 1. Well, that's 2/5 of 15 is 6. Plus 55 is 61. We're good. We have found our m and our b. So we can now solve this problem and say that our least squares line is y equals x. 1 times x is still x, plus 0.4. Second one is a little more complicated. We're going to go to the next page. We're going to go back to the slides here. The proprietor of Leisure Travel Service compiled the following data relating the firm's annual profit to its annual advertising expenditure, both measured in thousands of dollars. So the expenditure is X and the profit is Y. We've got 1260, 1470, 1790, 2100, 2600, and 3120. So first we wanted to find the least squares line. So again, we've got a bunch of pairs of data. We're going to write those on to our, in fact, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have to go back and forth a little. Okay, so we've got 1260, 1470. Three, 1790, 2100. $26,100 and $31,20. Okay, so let's find all of those bits of information we need. We need n. N is 6. We need the sum of the xi's, which is going to be 12 plus 14 plus 17 plus 21 plus 26 plus 30. Okay, and when I add those all up, I get 12 and 14 is 26. You know, I'm just going to grab a calculator. Never do things by hand if you don't have to. There we go. That's 120. Nice number to use. And then the sum of our yi's is actually going to be easier because they all end in 0. We're just going to have 60 plus 70 plus 90 plus 100 plus 100 plus 120. So that's 540. Okay, next up, we need the sum of the xi's squared. All right, so 12 squared is 144 plus 14 squared is 196 plus 17 squared is 289 plus 21 squared is 441 plus 26 squared is 676 plus 30 squared is 900. So that gives me the sum of the squares is 2,646. And finally, we want the sum of the xi, yi's. Okay, well, I'm just going to do this one on the calculator because we're running out of space to work with this stuff. I'm actually going to erase a couple of these lines so that because we've got the work, we just need to work with that. Okay, so 12 times 60 plus 14 times 70 plus 17 times 90 plus 21 times 100 plus 26 times 100 plus 30 times 120. That's 11,530. Okay, so now we can set up our equations. We have NB plus M times the sum of the xi's equals the sum of the yi's. That's 6B plus 120M equals 540. And we've got B times the sum of the xi's. So that was 120B. Plus M times the sum of the xi's squared, 2646M equals sum of the xi yi's, which is 11,530. Okay. All right, so I'm going to multiply this by 20, negative 20. That'll give me a negative 120B minus $2,400M equals 10,800. And when we subtract, we wind up with 246M equals 730. Okay, well, I can divide both of these by 2. Start. That'll give me 123m equals 365. I wonder if that was supposed to be. I'm just wondering if I did some math wrong here. Oh well. I'm hoping not, but I'm just going to note there are calculators for all this stuff online. This is not something you will usually need to do by hand. So if you run into problems like this, and you certainly will on your homework at the very least, and on the first test, feel free to go find a calculator online that will do this for you. Okay, so this means m is 2.9675 approximately. We'll call it good enough, which means that our least squares line is y equals 2.9675 x plus, oh, that's just m. We still need to find b. My bad. Okay, so to find b, we just take one of our equations and solve it for, we plug in m and we solve it. So 6b plus 120 times 2.9675 equals 540. Minus 120 times 2.9675 . It's 356.1. I really think that was supposed to be a 3. This is what happens when I do these problems without checking them first. Also, when I do this without bringing the book with me. Okay, anyway. So that would have been a much nicer number. And so that gives us 356.1. So then 6b equals 183.9, and then when we divide both sides by 6, we get b equals 30.65, which gives us the equation y equals 2.9675x plus 30.65. And now we're going to plug this into, we're going to take that equation and we're going to graph it with our points. So that's the second thing we want to do. We want to draw a scatter diagram and a least squares line for these data. Well, I've already done a scatter diagram here in Desmos. So now I'm going to put in the line. Y equals 2.9675 x plus, and double check that number, 30.65. Well, this looks pretty decent anyway. even if I'm a little bit off, I'm not so far off that this doesn't look like a good fit for these least squares line, for these points. That's what the least squares line is supposed to do. It's supposed to be really close to the numbers that, to the points that we've plotted. All right, so let's look at our last question on this. Use the result obtained in part A to predict leisure travel's annual profit if the annual advertising budget is $20,000. Okay, well, this just means that we take, excuse me, my throat gets really dry when I talk for a while like this. Okay, so we want to take our equation, and we're just going to set x equal to 20,000 and see what we get. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to move it to the next page. Okay, so if I plug in 20,000 for x, get 2.9675 times 20,000 plus 30.65 gives us $59,380.65. And there we go. I recognize that I stumbled a couple times with that one. Hopefully it wasn't too bad and you can understand more or less what I'm doing. It's kind of a complicated set of problems. So as always, if you have questions, let me know.